pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmembers Onderko. Here. Duncan.
Here.
Morales.
Here.
Mayor Clark-Kretz.
Here. Okay, let's move on to matters of interest to council members. Does anybody have anything? Anybody? No? I have a few things I wanted to talk about. As we looking at our email addresses that the town has, I'm encouraging people to sign up on the website for notices and potential surveys coming up in the future. So just keep your eye out for the newsletter that's coming up, and also any time that you can give us your email address if we don't have it, it would be great. That's all I have. Now, town manager report.
I just got a couple quick things. On Costco, I want to let the council already knows this, but for the folks in the public, if they don't, 52-day circulation period for the revised draft EIR closed yesterday at 5 o'clock. Because town hall was closed, we also accepted a couple comments this afternoon or today sometime, the handwritten comments that were dropped off. So comments are closed as of 5 o'clock tonight. The town received just about 30 comment letters total, and then we're in the process of beginning to respond to those now, so we can begin the preparation of the final EIR and then start hearings with the Planning Commission. Want to let council know and members of the public as well that the WW molding redevelopment, so the Loomis mill, the actual project was approved by the Planning Commission on a 5-0 vote at the Planning Commission's January meeting. So that was the first phase of the project. First phase includes moving LBB's production and tasting room from where they're at now over on Swetzer to the new site where WW molding was. It'll include the a distillery, market, charcuterie thing, and a bakery. And then the phase 2 of the project, that'll be considered at a later date. So that's the construction of the outdoor beer garden and the music venue. Let's see. That's pretty much. Oh, I want to mention 2 staff anniversaries that we have. So they're not here tonight, but 2 of our public works guys. Cody Tibbetts, he's been with the town for 3 years this month, and Anthony Erickson has been with the town for 2 years 2 years this month. That's all I have. I can answer questions if you have anything.
Congratulations to them. Anybody have anything? No? Thank you, Sean. Let's move on to the Loomis Chamber update.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and town staff. Is that yeah. Okay. This past month, we installed our 2020 Board of Directors, and I'm very confident that this group of leaders are willing to work together to solve any challenges that our business might encounter this upcoming year. They're committed to inspire, engage, and connect our businesses. This past month, the Town and Economic Development Committee visited Sutter Creek to get a sense of their local Main Street and economy. The restoration work that's being done by the Knights Foundry Water Power Machine Shop is creating wonderful tours and creating economic development, and it was very amazing, and I think that we could do something very similar in our town. I want to applaud the Loomis Planning Commission, the High Hand and the Loomis Basin project, as I believe that it benefits our town and will support our mural branding project like the Loomis Legacy Loop, and will continue our efforts to make a historical destination with small town experience. Thank you to Mayor Jan Clark-Kretz and Town Manager Sean for attending the Loomis Basin Chamber Business Award Gala, where our amazing business owners business owners who serve as role models and strive to make a positive impact to our community were honored and with public recognition and encouragement. I just attended a conference in Portland, charting a course for success for the Loomis Chamber, and I'm excited to come back and start getting some of these great ideas to support our business growth. And I want to thank Britt for attending our Business Connection and assisting the Placer Union High School District Community Engagement Team, who came and shared their initiative to provide students with opportunities in career exploration, giving them career experiences, as well as introducing them to important career technical educational type jobs in our Loomis area. Lastly, today I attended the Del Oro Career and Job Fair planning meeting at Del Oro High School, where the Chamber and the Loomis leadership will be working together to help create a career fair day in May. That's it.
Excellent. It's a lot. Thank you, Jenny. All right. We are going to move on to public comment for items not on the agenda, but before we do that, I just have a couple words that I wanted to say. Items on protocol during the public comment period of our meeting. I would like to apologize for the laptop that was on top of the timing lights at the last meeting. We've moved the computer out of the way, so that won't happen again. I would also like to convey how much I appreciate the input that we get from public comment. I know wholeheartedly that it is very intimidating to approach the council at the podium, and this is the time for citizens and residents to inform the council and express their views and concerns. With that said, I really want you to feel welcome and safe as you comment, and again, I appreciate the time that you took to participate in the meeting and participate in meetings to come. As mayor, I have the duty of enforcing the rules during the meeting, so I thought it would be a good time to go over them. But before I do that, I should explain my style as chair of the meeting. I am a stickler for proper decorum, and it's a part of who I am and one of my most important guiding principles to model courtesy and respect. During your public comment, I ask that the council please give respect to the person speaking, and council members, please refrain from speaking during this portion of the meeting. Again, courtesy and respect are hugely important. These are not frills, but vital to the democratic process. In terms of your public comment, you'll be given 3 minutes. You can't swap your time with somebody else. And once you come up, just to address the podium, please state your name for the clerk. And I actually tested the timer tonight just because I wanted to see what the process was like. And once you start talking, the timer will start, and you'll see a very, very, very vibrant green light that, you know, hopefully will turn my brown eyes green eventually. But it'll go for 1 minute, and then that green light will start blinking. When you have 30 seconds left to go, you have a yellow blinking light. And so once that light starts blinking yellow, now's the time to sort of come to the, start wrapping up your comment. Once that light goes red, and a buzzer will sound, I will then thank you for your comment and ask you to stop. And again, thank you for speaking. I know the process seems really sort of a bit complicated, but it is put in place so that we can have successful and democratic meetings, and it only can benefit from public comment. And again, we appreciate that form of this meeting. So with that said, let's open it up for public comment for items not on the agenda. And this time is reserved for those in the audience who wish to address the town council on subjects that are not on the agenda. Anybody want to come to the podium?
William Cole Sr., 6280 Horseshoe Bar Road. I'd like to thank Mayor Jan Clark-Surtz for her meetings. They're very informative, and I enjoy. Thank you, Sean, for coming in on your day off. Lots of good discussion, lots of information, and it was nice to meet Mark, what's his name? Anyway, that said, I'm still gonna, I know there's some good things coming, hopefully, about traffic on Horseshoe Bar and King Road. if you've been out there lately, you will know if you're doing less than 50, somebody's going to run over you. So please keep in mind that if we can get the Sheriff's Department out there. But again, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to move on. And now we're going to move to adoption of the agenda.
I'll move adoption of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion adopted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now is the opportunity to comment on the consent calendar. Anybody have any comments on the consent?
William Quindle, 6280 Horseshoe Bar Road. My concern is on item 7. The ban on vaping products doesn't really do anything, and I have been scouring for any treatment for these kids, especially who've been vaping. There is none. So banning it, it's just going to come out of somebody's kitchen because they're still going to vape, and the danger is that the stuff that's bad for them, which is what most of the people who've died so far in the U.S. has been stuff that's been refilled with other chemicals. So taking away the vape shops, I think, is going to have no effect, and it actually things will maybe get worse because they'll make stuff at home. So thank you.
Thank you, William.
Were we going to pull that or not?
Yeah. Do we need to pull that then, or not?
You don't need to.
No.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion approved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving forward. Let's move to business. Item number 9, general plan update.
Good evening. Andrews Hauge, consultant with the town of Loomis. I have to get closer. All right, I'll get closer. What I'm going to do tonight, at your request, is give you an update on the general plan process, and we'll go through that, and if you have any questions through the presentation or at the end, be glad to answer them. That was supposed to... There we go. Council direction. This slide is here. You've seen it each time we've done the presentation. It's just to remind you that the direction of the town is to update, and it's a maintenance update of the general plan, 2020 to 2040, and that you've given us direction to make only the necessary modifications to the plan, updating it for state laws and changes within the town, and we're to focus on land use. So I remind you because it could be in time that you change that direction, but we're still following your direction in the general plan process. Accomplishments to date, you can see some of the accomplishments we've already discussed, but since we last had the update, there was a meeting with the Planning Commission on the state housing law. There was a meeting on the circulation element, and there was also a meeting with the Planning Commission on the housing element. So that concluded our educational series with the Planning Commission, concluding with the housing element meeting. Public outreach, basically October through today, we've been receiving comments, and we have received comments, and we're holding those that will come to you a little bit later in the process as part of your information about what the community is looking for. Accomplishments of the staff, primarily we met with the housing consultants. Also, we're working with the team and getting scopes of work to you for your approval so they can move forward with the various updates to the general plan. I know we have a scope of work that we received this week for housing element, land use element, and also environmental documentation for the housing element. So as soon as we get done reviewing that, that's going to be coming to the council for your authorization. in process. We're continuing to do the internal review on the documents as we receive comments. We're also, as I just mentioned, preparing contracts for the element, the setting, the studies and reports required. And we're also preparing for open house events, which I'll talk about here in just a bit. Coming up this spring, we will be having community open house events. There will be community surveys. We will also be providing the information on the settings and studies that are being prepared. Also, it's intended that the council will appoint committees that we'll talk about in a bit, and also workshops with the Council Planning Commission as we go through the process. Then in the summer and, from last summer and fall, we'll still be taking agency and community input on the general plan. And again, as scheduled by the council, there'll be committees, workshops, and if necessary, additional studies. We'll be looking then in the fall through spring, kind of the winter-fall or fall-winter period, spring period, that we'll begin actually drafting documents for the town to review, including the draft environmental document. And so we're hoping that spring, fall 2021, then we will circulate the environmental document and bring the documents to the council for approvals. So you asked for a simplified schedule, so we provide the simplified schedule of that. We extended some of the comment period, realizing the council wanted more time to receive comments and engage in the community, and so this schedule reflects that extended time frame. You notice on there that we're looking at 2 open house events. We're planning on having one in a weekday, hopefully a Wednesday from approximately 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening, and also one on a Saturday that would be from 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. So those are scheduled hopefully late March, early April. Mary Beth is actually working with the venue right now to try and tie down the dates to do that. The technical studies and reports, the settings section. So one of the things we're doing is updating the settings sections for the town, which are essential for the general plan and the general plan elements. And also those settings sections will be used for the general plan EIR. The intent is to use one setting section so there's no duplication or differences in that set of documents. And the basis for the setting sections will be the certified general plan that was certified in 2001, certified documents that the town has previously certified for EIRs, and also project-specific setting information, such as the Costco project has a significant amount of setting information that can be included in the town's setting. So we'll be using all existing and available information, and where necessary, updating that with additional studies. One of the things, you probably didn't know what the general plan team is. So sometime, and Sean could remind me, when the town, there was an RFP that went out to consultants to look for teams that could come in and be on-call consultants, both for assisting in projects and also doing the general plan. And the team was put together by ourselves. So we're on the team, but also Helix Environmental Planning is on the team, Pekin Associates, Saxelby Acoustics, Wood Rogers, 3DFX, Ambient Air Quality, Noise and Consulting, and PlaceWorks will be on the team. They're bringing in the proposal for housing and land use information. So that's the general plan team, the experts that you have working for you in putting this together. Technical studies that we've identified in reports at this time, land use inventory, the housing inventory, the housing affordability, population inventory, government constraints update, oak tree plantings report, which is underway that you've already authorized, the circulation and VMT study, economic development study, biological resources update, cultural resources update, and noise source and sound level update. So those are studies, reports that we've identified need to be completed for your general plan update to date. That can always be added as we go through this process. Also, an environmental impact report is required. And as I said, we're working on those scopes and getting those to you so that the consultants can begin that work. Community outreach, the open house schedule. Our plan is to have the open house a weekday event, which I think will be a Wednesday, a weekend event, which will be a Saturday, 10 to 1. I think the H. Clark Power School is the venue that might be available. We checked some others and they're booked. It will be open to the entire community. There are no scheduled presentations at the open house. You arrive and depart at your own schedule, say as long as you want. There will be staff, experts, and the council and planning commission will be invited. We'll be noticing these meetings. I'm sure that Mr. Mitchell will be advising you on not getting together and making decisions, but you're available to talk to the community and hear what they have to say. And also the comments will not be taken verbally. They'll all be written comments, and there will actually be staff there to help write the comments, to get them in a way that is useful to the town. A typical event, and right now what we're looking at is an event that will be in the gymnasium. There will be a sign-in and a place-to-place comments after you've attended the event. There will be a station where we will welcome the participants and discuss how the general plan process works and how the open house works. There will be refreshments. That always seems essential for these kind of events. There will be a station on the general plan and the role of the general plan, a station on the land use and community design. There will be a station on the town ordinances and plans and how they interact with the general plan, a station on circulation and vehicle miles traveled, a station on housing, a station on parks and recreation, a station on public services and facilities, one on economic development, one on conservation of resources, one on public health and safety. In that graphic you see kind of the gray round tables. Those are places where we can sit with citizens and help them write comments. So there will be staff at the booths, but others such as myself and Mary Beth, Sean will be circulating around and being able to assist persons as they have questions and direct them in the right direction, and also to assist in how to properly write a comment or recommendation that will be useful in the process. We're also looking at having a kids zone, and this is a place if you have children, you can let them go and maybe draw a general plan or some other thing, so that, as parents, you can go and interact with the staff and the experts in this process. So those kids zones my experience is sometimes the kids don't want to leave the kids zone when the parents are ready. So hopefully that will be the same thing here. And that's an example of an open house venue using exactly that format that we've held in the past, just to kind of show you the casual nature of the event, but to give you an idea of what your event may look like. So the typical information at each station, we will have the relevant general plan element. We will also have any relevant diagrams, be it land use, zoning, etc. Also any relevant studies and reports that are available. There will also be the relevant EIR section, primarily from your existing general plan and any updates that have been made. We will also have a list of questions that may have come up during this process that we can say these are questions about this element. There will also be a glossary of terms, since we want to make sure we're all using the same terms as we discuss the general plan. And there will also be a team expert, generally somebody knowledgeable and an expert in that subject section. And I want to say, if we go through this process and you as a council want other stations or other items discussed, this is still in the planning stages, and definitely we can do that. So if there's something that you feel that needs to be addressed or available to the community, we'll do that. We're asking for written input. So we're asking if there's recommendations for any additional studies, recommendations on policies, modifying them, adding them, deleting them, recommendations for implementation measures in ways to implement your general plan into the future. And part of that also is how successful are your implementation measures today, what could be done better. We'll be asked, what questions need to be addressed in the general plan as it's prepared. Also, we're looking for any shared knowledge, because the community has a lot of knowledge that we don't have, and as I've been out in the community, I keep hearing a lot of information, so we want to share that and get that recorded and included in the general plan. We also want persons to share their vision of Loomis. We hear that a lot, and I'd really like to begin to define that so we can incorporate that into the general plan. And also fill in the gaps. A lot of times there's information in the setting sections that people around here know what's happened, they know where the gaps are. There may not have been a study, but they can fill in the gaps and give us that information. So those are all things that we're looking for from the community in this process. What will be coming out of this process will be an open house summary, and it will include the comments we've received, and they'll be summarized and not repeated if we have the same comment over and over. But you, as a council, will be receiving that information along with comments that we have received from the beginning of the process. And they'll all be placed in a document and a report that is available to you and the community. It will be presented to the council, and then based on that, the town council will give direction for the next steps as we move forward. Some of those steps might be a community survey, answering questions that have come up to you as a council and also has come up in the open house that you want to send out a survey community-wide and get input. So those questions will be developed after the open house so that we have a time to get some feedback. They will be approved by the council to make sure they address your concerns. And so far we know the council would like to know what is important to the town and what is the vision of the town. Those are two questions we've heard from the council already that definitely will be addressed in a community-wide questionnaire. Committees. Talking with the council, I believe is the direction of the council that the committees will be made up of one council member, one commission member, and up to 4 public members when the committees are developed. The appointments will be made by the council, again, after the open house, because you will then have some feedback on the topics that need to be addressed. So we're looking at the committees will be formed in April, May, June, and beyond. And it all depends on the kinds of information and feedback you're getting. That is a discretion of the council to form those committees to bring you information. So far, the council has indicated that land use is a committee. Housing, and especially where we're going to find the new housing sites for our affordable housing requirements, circulation and vehicle miles traveled, and economic development. And it could be that you as a council have more committees that you want to form, and especially after the open house, I'm sure that you're going to have input to feed into that. The workshops. The committees will be reporting directly to you and the Planning Commission, and we're seeing the workshops as a forum for that to occur so that you're both receiving the information at the same time, and it allows you in a somewhat informal atmosphere to have discussions with the committee members and between yourselves and the Planning Commission in order to give the staff direction in moving forward. And so between the committees and the workshops and even the open houses, they're all flexible, and you can direct us to have more, have less as we go through the process, meeting the needs of the town council. That's the presentation. This is the same information. Comments are being received at the email address of gpupdate@loomis.ca.gov. Again, snail mail drop-off, and the town staff is available to discuss these issues with anyone who would like to.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation. Does anybody have any questions for him? Pierre?
Question. Thank you, Andy. The committees that we're talking about, are those Brown Act, subject to Brown Act?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
And Jeff, did you want to mention that we are going to be inviting commission and council to the open houses? It's just you.
And that's fine. We just need to notice them as meetings.
Right.
That's all.
And you can't get together and make decisions.
Before, when we did this, his question brought up a thought. We had one big committee. We're not going to have like one big committee that's of like 10 or 12 people.
The intent is to not have one big committee, but to engage more people and really focus on issues. And it could be that you have a committee and you decide you want a couple of committees to get together, be a bit larger to address issues, say, I could see circulation and land use, there comes a point where you may want to join those together. But the intent is to be fairly efficient in those, and also by doing this, you're actually going to engage more people in the community.
And did you say about approximately 4 persons per committee?
I
Was
think
that
what we
I seen up
discussed
there?
was a council member, a planning commission member, and up to 4 persons per
Oh,
committee.
okay, so like about a 6-person.
Yeah, 6%. But it's up to the council. You
Yeah.
know, if you
Well,
feel,
I thought I seen with the committee, like 4 people, 4.
no, it'd be at least, we're thinking 6, and it could be a few more.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll come back to it. Well, let me ask. So what notifications will we be putting out to notify the public of the workshops and so on? Email?
You
What's-
would be required under the Brown Act to provide 24-hour notice for special meetings. If you have the committees adopt a regular meeting schedule, which you may decide to do, then you do 72-hour notice prior to meetings.
Okay.
The notice would be on the town's website, and you can provide additional notice, and posted
I think
somewhere.
10 days, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 10 days we publish in the newspaper, so.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to, I mean, you can, but you're not required to do
Okay,
that.
all right. So the other thing we're looking at is definitely the email blasts that the town has, and, we can discuss if you want mailings to the town members, that can also be done. So,
My hope is, my preference would be more the better. I know that, we have a standard to live with, but more notification and more input, the better.
I think that the most important thing for the committees is for them to be on a regular schedule. So once we get that schedule figured out, we would send out, something, if it's a mailer or whatever it is. But that way people know that, on the third Thursday at whatever time that particular committee is going to be meeting, so they're not jumping around. Because otherwise, we'll never be able to be caught up to be sending out notifications for each committee meeting if we're going to be doing mailings or something like that.
Okay.
So we'll obviously do 72-hour notice for the committee meetings if they have a specified schedule posted on the website, same thing that we do for the council meetings. And if they have to do a special meeting, it'll be 24-hour notice, the same way that the council meetings are. But I think it'll be critical to get kind of a routine schedule for each one. That way we're not bouncing around.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just want to reiterate that we'll definitely be doing a mailer to notify every resident about the open house, correct? So definitely want to do that. Okay, great. When you say setting sections,
yeah.
can you just kind of explain that a little?
If you read an EIR, it always begins with a settings section, and your general plan has settings sections. So for land use, it will go through and it says you have X number of acres in the town, you have land that is currently used, it's vacant, it's not vacant, it's residential, commercial. It will talk about the land uses in the community. For biological resources, the settings section will say these are the biological resources in the community.
Got it.
That will be updated using the CNDB database. Same with cultural resources. Again, it's a little bit different because you don't disclose where those are, but it will be updated on, these are the cultural resources within the town of Loomis. For housing, it is going, how many units, what general price are they at, population. We'll talk about the number of persons, the ages, the income levels. Basically, it provides a basis of existing knowledge about the town of Loomis that is used then in making your decisions about policy and implementation.
Okay. Is this on our website? Is this
Presentation?
Yes.
Not yet.
Can we get it
I think
added?
that's something, who does that? Is that Cricket or?
I can.
Okay, Cricket can, so
Yeah,
she can
that'll
put
be
that.
great. And then I know the estimated schedules, obviously it's a moving
It's
document,
moving.
but I think it'd be really helpful to have that online for sure. And it is an excellent presentation. I'm very glad that you went into such great detail. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I know in the very beginning you said we were just mainly focusing on land use, but I just wanted to make sure to reassure everybody that we really are going through everything, but not everything needs to be going into in great detail, but we are going to go through everything.
Every setting section will be updated so it's current to today, and every section will be looked at. And as we've discussed in the various educational pieces to the Planning Commission, state law requires some of these areas to be updated. But in most general plans, it really gets back to the land use, which is the focus that goes out then and will have impact on the other elements of the general plan.
Also, Sean and I were talking today about, people signing up for the open house, and again, talking about their email addresses and signing up, and thinking that the data that we collect from these open houses are going to be hugely important, not only for planning the rest of it, but we might be able to let the public know on an earlier date, for instance, how many people attended the open house, how many people were interested in this section and that section.
So what we could do is maybe a brief summary of the open house before the more complete summary is given to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Ed.
Okay.
All right, let's open it up for public comment.
Jean Wilson, 4301 Barton Road. And if we are still using that green input form, I don't know if we are, but I would like to suggest that it be made available on the table out here and perhaps in the library. I don't know of other places that are commonly seen by people, but with a little sign that says general plan comments. A lot of people will do it online, but some people, if they walk by and there's a form to pick up to fill out, they may be more likely to do it. I think one of my particular concerns is the housing and affordable housing in particular. I think that's going to be because it impacts land use and a lot of other things. I think that's likely to be one of the stickiest parts, especially to get the public to understand, because there have been so many new housing laws and requirements that we are going to have to comply with that aren't probably what a lot of people want here for Loomis. And they'll need to understand why we need to do these, what things are the new requirements, how that impacts our land use. And my concern is that maybe just having like one of 6 or 8 tables to go to is not going to get people enough information to understand what we're going to have to come up with for this general plan. So I'm almost wondering if we don't need a separate workshop or some kind of, some way for people to understand that, so that we don't put into effect the things that we have to do and then have people be really, really angry about it or puzzled, or why are you doing this to our town? And the people that put it together are the ones that are going to have the heat on them if people don't have a chance to understand why. So I just think that the housing element is something that probably needs a little more than a table at an open house.
Thank you, Jean.
Can I add something to that too?
Please.
Because of the timing and how long the general plan update will likely take, not that it's going to take a super long time, but the housing element's the only element that we're legally required to update by a specific date. And so the chances are pretty good that the housing element is going to need to be done before the rest of the general plan update is going to be finished. So I think that Jean's right in terms of making sure that people understand the impacts of those new laws. And it's not like those new laws are going to stop this year. I'm sure there's going to be new ones that come up this legislative session. And so making sure that we're, articulating the reasons for all that is going to be, really important for us to do. But the chances are pretty good that the housing element will need to be certified before the general plan update's done, just because of the timing and because that one element is required to be done by a specific date. So, just for what it's worth.
Thank you, Sean. Any other public comment?
Tricia Art. I'm not sure if it's okay for the town to do this, but I found out about meetings on Nextdoor Loomis, and I know that PG&E use that platform to contact people, so I was wondering if you could also put contact information on there, or at least look into it to see if it's possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Jenny Nisley, 4135 Hunters Drive. I just had a couple of questions, or make sure that I understood. The 2 workshops are the same workshops that'll be on Wednesday. It's the same workshops. How long is the comment time from that workshop till you do your final report to the council?
So comments are always going to be open, but what we'll do is basically probably about a week after the open house is done, at that time, take all the comments we have and prepare the summary report for you. But the comments will stay open, and we will continue to add to the information as we go through this process. So it will be a fluid, ongoing process. And I like the idea of possibly even doing an open house just on housing, because I think there is enough about that. So we'll look at scheduling something for that.
Just 2 more. The committees and workshops are open to the public, or are they just committee meetings?
They need to be open to the public because of Brown Act meetings.
Okay. And do you have to live in the town to be on the committee?
We haven't talked about that, but my assumption is that because it's a general plan for the town of Loomis, that committee members should live in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, let's bring it back to the council. Anybody have anything?
Yeah, just to be clear on, so we would have the open house, like on housing, and then open house on all the other issues, and then we would be choosing committees or assigned committees. How will we determine through a volunteer? I want to be on the housing, or I want to be on the circulation. How will we
Okay, let's start.
that?
The intent and what we're preparing for now is the general open house, just general comments. The open house on housing, I think, would be appropriate after we get some of the housing information, so we can actually share this is what we're finding out about the community and where we have some gaps that need to be filled. That will be a whole lot more useful to anybody coming to the housing element rather than just open, what do you think about housing? So my recommendation is you do the general open houses now, get that general input, and then once we have some of the background information, the setting information on housing, that we hold the housing open house at that point in time and go from there. Regarding the committees, we already have individuals who have written us that they want to be on committees, but they didn't designate what committee. So that information will be provided to the council members for you to take a look at when you're making the assignments. The thought is after the open house, we're going to have a better sense of what the community is interested in, what the focus is, and that's why our recommendation is right after the open houses to then have the council set the committees.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything? Okay. I just wanted to address Jean's concern, and I think the idea for the open house, the major 2 open houses, was sort of to kick off our public engagement. And like Anders said, once we get all that information, then we can compile it. And I'm thinking that there are going to be workshops on all the major components of the general plan. So just to let you know that I believe that was the the reasoning behind it. Certainly, we'll need to have workshops for some of these bigger components of the general plan. So this particular item was to receive public input and then provide direction for staff. But I think you did a great job, and it seems like we have direction, so we'll move on from that. Now let's do council committee reports.
Nothing to share tonight.
No meetings.
Okay. Since it's a short meeting tonight, I can speak a little bit about Pioneer. The last Pioneer meeting was last week, and we were talking about the public safety power shutoffs, and everyone, you know, that's awake can understand the PG&E failure, that they didn't have a plan in place for the public safety power shutoffs. They just had a plan to shut it off. So Pioneer's been working on microgrids and being able to keep the power on to hospitals, police stations, fire stations. They have presented a plan, and they've been reaching out to PG&E, but PG&E, I guess, they've been busy, and they haven't been reciprocal. But this will be coming up soon, that they are going to be working with the Pioneer Energy. And I highly recommend that people that are interested in this is to go to the website, Pioneer Energy, Community Energy website, and if you can just click on to the About Us, and then you go to the agenda committees or meetings and agendas, and February 3rd was the meeting, and you can go to page 19 through 37, and it gets into great detail about the microgrids. It's very interesting stuff. One of the problems is knowing, okay, so for instance, for Loomis, we have a power substation that's in Penryn that could be powered. It's usually powered by diesel generation, but it could, with the distribution lines, it could keep our Del Oro High School police station, the fire station, these things open, and cell towers open, because as we found after the power shutoffs, that people were not able to call the police or fire stations or any emergencies. So I would like people to get online and check out the site, and our next meeting is March 2nd, Monday, and it's really close by, off of Granite Drive on Warren Drive is Pioneer Community Energy, and it's at 3 o'clock, March 2nd, at, March 2nd, Monday at 3 o'clock. So please attend. If you can't, then log on to the Pioneer Energy website. All right, thanks.
Thank you. I attended the Placer County Transportation Authority meeting this past month, and for those of you that do not know, Loomis was unanimously voted out of their potential sales tax measure, and now they're moving on to include the cities of Lincoln, Rockland, and Roseville. The city of Lincoln is now on probation to see whether or not they're going to be able to gather enough votes, positive votes, for them to go on with their sales tax measure. And I also attended the Placer County Economic Development meeting and was able to share some good news with them about some great things that are happening in our town, and that's all I have. So with that said, shall we adjourn our meeting? Let's do it. Adjourn.
Yeah, and I left it up here.